Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. We've got some new figures today, courtesy of Battle Yak Miniatures that, well, I haven't had a chance to print, so these are fairly recent for me. I know they've put out a few more since this set, but I really liked these models, and since it's my channel, I wanted to point them out to everybody. So today I want to look at some of the Gilden Stern Gatewatch models, and one of the things that I've always appreciated about Battle Yak stuff is that they kind of just go off and do their own thing most of the time. And I always feel like that kind of attitude should absolutely get rewarded, and, you know, they're just kind of fun, interesting figures. Yeah, they look very vaguely Enforcer, Constable-ish type. He's got the club, he's got the shield. The heads, as always, are a lot of fun, if you can forgive my poor cleaning shot. Yeah, that guy's going to go back and get a little bit touched up. I did not do the best job there. That's pretty awful. And that's on my part, but I love his kind of constable-like, old-timey steampunk helmet there, along with the requisite steampunk backpack. These figures in particular are single-piece models, something that I always appreciated when we had from Battle Yak Miniatures. A lot of the times we had some crazy, really complex multi-part models, and I think just due to the time and the complexity and the sheer amount of stuff involved, we didn't get those pre-built ones. And I'll be honest, I'm a sucker for the pre-built stuff, because a lot of times, if they're not pre-built, I have a bad habit of just accumulating parts and never getting anything done. Which is what we're going to talk about right after these guys, in fact. Yeah, and I thought I thoroughly scrubbed my fingers. You can see they're covered in paint and ink, as always. But just some fun, interesting models. I keep trying to think, what could you possibly use them for other than, you know, a very steampunk City Watch type group. I mean, when I first saw these pole arms, I was like, oh, these are like total, you know, make for some fun Custodes type models. But given their current scale, it's actually a lot more similar to typical GW human scale, which I found quite surprising. Because a lot of the Battle Yak stuff is kind of aired on the larger size. Case in point, as I grab some of my painted Battle Yak friends here of various sorts. And you'll notice that a lot of the ones that I tend to have painted also tend to be quite the uniquely dressed and styled ones. As we fight for premium camera space here. When I first saw these Gatewatch guys, I thought, oh, their backpacks looked kind of familiar. Another older Battle Yak figure. But nope, they're actually pretty different. Similar but not the same. And one of the nice things is, if you don't want to do these single piece figures, everything, as always with all the Battle Yak stuff, is completely ridiculously modular with a whole slew of parts available. So you don't have to build them with that. You could go all kind of steampunk, old-timey, hand-to-hand stuff. They do have a few gun options. I don't remember seeing anything two-handed, and they also have these big, what were they called? Guild Wardens, which were basically like big, giant, fat guy equivalents of dreadnoughts, for lack of better comparison. I haven't had a chance to print them yet. I'm hoping once I finish printing stuff for other people, I'm going to get around to it, but yeah, just haven't had time yet. Part of the other problem is, as I've said before, and I mentioned, whenever I tend to have Battle Yak stuff laying around, I never get it finished, which has been long the case with some of these following figures. The Null Dynasty. And the Null Dynasty were quite fun for me because they're just a bunch of bony, almost robot stuff, almost like vaguely, you know, skeletal legion, undead horde types. But there's also quite a bit of parallels, and there were a few guns available, to everybody's favorite never-dying necrotic robots from the grim dark of the far future. But if you don't even want to do sci-fi robots, yeah, go right ahead. Build yourself a very pointy, bony fantasy army. And one of the things that I really liked about this, and I was complaining I keep printing stuff, is that these guys had just a bizarre variety of bodies available. I mean, obviously that has a bit of a Necron touch to it. But there's like, I don't know how many different spine variations. You can see he's got like almost Gene Stealer, Tyrannid growths. This guy's got like almost wings and tail-like structures. I primed this one. I'm trying to figure out how I want to paint it, though. That's the other thing. I get kind of stuck there. All of the pauldrons, there's, I don't know how many different pauldron designs. Various shields. As I said, I just could not stop printing this stuff. And like, I got a bunch of the heads all mixed up with Piper Makes stuff, which is another figure designer that's just as bad, if not worse, in the case of just giving you too much variety than you'll ever need. But these are just all different, oh, they're not even on camera, all different various styles. There's just all these bony growth plates available for the various pauldrons. There's a ton of different heads. Some are more robotic than skeletal, so you could really just do whatever you wish. He's got no eye sockets. That's fun. Again, a variety of... I mean, maybe you could paint him up almost like Tyrannid style. Okay, the heads go on the little peg there. That's how I know that's the top half. But you could honestly use them for just about whatever you feel like. They had a big four-armed variety for the bigger versions, which was kind of fun, along with typical spiders and things like that. So they do offer up a good variety, and I mean, they scale pretty well with the other figures from Battle Yak. You can give those humans a good run for their money. I'm not sure how I want to paint them. I mean, I've done a few of the automatons from that earlier release in a nice turquoise color. I'm kind of leaning towards that as well, since a lot of my Necrons are actually painted like that. I forget which dynasty that's supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure I based it on an actual one. But I don't know. I would love for some suggestions, and honestly, these are just a lot of fun figures, and like I said, I've got a bunch more parts here. We can lay them all out, but I don't think it's going to really do any good. If you guys haven't had a chance, like I said, do check them out. We'll have a link, as always, down below. And I think if you appreciate funky, interesting figures that aren't going to necessarily serve as proxies for some other game system, but definitely could, and just have a lot of unique variety in terms of just sheer bizarreness. We haven't even looked at their new Biomancer stuff, and it's all kinds of like crazy, you know, that grown creatures. There's been all sorts of extra like Bayou style goblins and hobgoblins on bats in the water with the reeds, all kinds of fun stuff. So if you haven't had a chance, do take a look, because there's a lot of fun to be had there. And with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.